Hey everybody, it is Kendelenisha, your fave life coach, the remix coach, and welcome to Remixing Relationships. It's going to be a good one. This is a part two. If you were here last week, you know that Austin put it down when it came to romance. That's what we are talking about. So you don't want to miss this second part. Whether you're watching live or the playback, don't forget to share this out. All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready for a good show? It's gonna be good. He gonna have a three-piece suit on, and that's how we gonna do it this time because he tried to be romantic. Let's go. Remixing relationship starts now. Kendelenisha, your fave life coach, the remix coach, life coach Kendelenisha. All right. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. Welcome back. All right. So, welcome to Remixing Relationships. This is a place where we dive deep into the art of creating and sustaining healthy connections, healthy relationships. Again, I am your host, Kendelenisha, fave life coach, the remix coach. And together we'll explore fresh perspectives and strategies to transform your relationship. This day, we're talking about transforming your love life and your romanticism with Romancipes. All right. So, whether you're looking to strengthen or heal or completely remix your love connections, you are in the right place. All right. So, if you tuned in last week, you already know who I have here. So let me read a piece of his bio and we are going to get started. So, Romancipes, like recipes for romance. All right. So, I have H.W. Austin. He is a certified relationship coach, a die-hard romantic, self described as the romance gent. Austin is the creator of Romancipes, which is an amazing idea. He is married to his butterfly and he has some children and some grandchildren. So Austin has affinity for writing poetry. He also enjoys spending time with his family, listening to smooth jazz, playing Scrabble, being a part of the praise team at Impact Worship Center in Mableton, Georgia. Me and this brother have a lot in common. We both like poetry, we like smooth jazz, and let's see who's going to win in a Scrabble game. All right, we're talking about remixing romance. Before I bring my guest up, I just want to let you know that March is colon cancer awareness month. You see my blue ribbon and my blue nails. I am a colon cancer survivor, and this is our month. God has allowed me to see what is today, the 3rd. We're recording this live on March 5th. That was the day I was diagnosed in 2021. So all month, when I used to have like blue streaks in my hair, blue all month, but you're going to see some parts of blue all month, but it may not be the blue hair this time. But I want people to ask, you got blue hair. Why you got blue hair? Or I like your blue nails. Oh, what's the blue ribbon for? Because people know cancer as pink, right? Breast cancer, but there are a lot of other cancers, and colon cancer is a big one. In the Black community, a lot of people don't know. When I first was diagnosed with colon cancer, people were like, well, you're a woman or you're a Black woman. How did you get that? White men get that. And that's the myth that a lot of people had, right? So I am a face right now, colon cancer survivor. I'm a woman and I had it before I was 50. I was 49 right before I turned 50. And a little bit about that. My doctor was saying when you turn 50, you'll have to get a colonoscopy for the first time. Well, God was like, go now. And I went at 49. Had I waited a whole calendar year for 50, even though I was about to turn 50, of course I would be 50 for 1 year, y'all wouldn't see me here. Had no symptoms and I was stage 2 colon cancer. So that goes to show you, but it is preventable and beatable. So I encourage everybody to book their colonoscopy. It's not an old person's disease. Some people have colon cancer at 20, 25, 30. So I just want to put that out there. And also, I just want to say I recorded Erica Campbell. Get Up with Erica Campbell in the morning, Get Up Mornings. I was a guest on there. We recorded it today. And if you're watching live or the playback, well, if you're watching live, you can catch it. It'll be tomorrow on March 4th at 8:10 a.m. So get the Get Up Mornings app or check where your praise station is on FM radio. And I know some like, I don't listen to radio. Well, get the app. How about that? All right. Without further ado, H.W. Austin, welcome him back to Remixing Relationships.
Good evening.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
What you got to say?
I took the 3-piece suit off as soon as you said I had it on. So
he didn't want y'all to see it. He was dressed up. He got Vaseline on his shoes and everything. Shot his shoes up.
Had the ruffle shirt on and the bow tie. I was ready.
All of that. So I'm excited to have you back.
Yes, I'm excited to be back. I appreciate the re-invite once again. So yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to talk about some romance this episode, and then you'll see him again on my channel as a certified relationship coach. Y'all know that's my lane. So I definitely want to have experts on here talking about relationships. So this is his book. We talked about this last week. So let's talk about that for a moment. What was the feedback you got on the show last week? Feedback?
Yeah, I got some good feedback. Got sales as well. That's the best feedback is that cart filling up.
Come on, cart, ching ching.
So yeah, I definitely got some great feedback. And just today, which is pretty amazing. So my neighbor who lives, 1,000 yards from me, maybe more, but 6-7 houses down. I'm 40 miles away today, taking my aunt back home. I'm 40 miles away from where I live, and I'm coming out of a racetrack from gassing up my car, and I'm walking out, and he's walking in. And he was like, yo, I listened to your podcast last week. I didn't even know he was on it because I just sent the link out to, a gazillion people. And I hadn't heard from him all week, obviously. So I'm like, okay, it didn't even think about it. And yet he's standing there in front of me telling me that he listened to the podcast, that it was dope. He was like, I can't believe you wrote a book. Because he and I play cornhole together.
Yeah.
And that's our jam.
Wait. What is cornhole?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. Cornhole. You don't know nothing about that.
I sure don't. What is that?
You just gave it away. So it's a yard game. You've seen the long boards that's got the hole in the center.
Yes.
People are throwing a bag.
Yes.
That's cornhole.
That's not like beanbag toss kind of thing.
It's called cornhole.
Oh, look.
So,
do you have a beanbag?
Well, it's actually, believe it or not, the bag is full of corn. So seriously, like it's literally called, yeah. So, and then the hole is in the board, so they put it together, cornhole. But yeah, it's akin to beanbag toss in a way. But it's a very popular game. But anyway, nevertheless, he and I played cornhole. So he's like, I can't believe you wrote a book. Like, we play cornhole in the backyard, and you wrote a book.
Wow.
So that was pretty dope.
That's
so
cool.
I've gotten some really neat feedback this week. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm glad to have you back because we're going to be talking about romance, remix, reunited, ignited, and why it matters and how to get back on track. Again, if you're just tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you share this out, whether you're watching live or the playback, and you have an opportunity to support the show and the channel. You can send a love offering of 99 cents. You're going to just hit the heart that says thanks. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, you can just hit the shooting star and give your girl 99 cents. How about that? And definitely buy this book. All right, so I'm going to recap just a little bit from last week, and I want you guys to watch it. But we talked about Austin's book, Romancipes, right? Romancipes. I keep saying Romancipes, romance and recipes. And we talked about some of the Romancipes here, and we talked about the importance of connection and God. We brought up God a lot, and I put some posts up because I think that that's amazing that we can talk about romance and we can talk about God and we can talk about marriage and we can talk about relationships. But we had a good time last week. So I want to give a lot away because I want you to see part one. And you can watch this first and then go back and see part one. But I want to talk to my guest before we get started with the official show. He has a beautiful wife. She was on last week in the comments. I want you to tell us her name, and I want you call her something that's really, really cute. You call her Butterfly. Please tell us her name and why you call her Butterfly. And then I want to be on the weekend and tell people what you did this weekend.
Oh, okay. So her name is Tequila. So that's her actual name, Tequila.
Her government name.
She doesn't spell it like the alcohol. It's a whole different spelling. But and no, I wasn't drunk when I asked her out either. I wasn't on tequila.
Funny. That's funny.
But I actually call her Butterfly, right? And so the whole premise behind Butterfly is to know my wife is to know that she can be on one side of the room or one side of the house, and 5 seconds later she's on the opposite side of the room or house. And then 10 seconds later she's on yet another side. She just moves about from place to place as she's doing things. Mm-hmm. And she moves lightly, just kind of like a butterfly, just kind of floating. And so me observing her, right, that was part of it. And then she's very colorful. Mm-hmm. My wife is very colorful. She's artistic. She's theatrical. She thinks she's a comedian. She thinks she is, but she is funny though. And yet she's prophetic. Mm-hmm. She can laugh and have you laughing and just crack a joke or be laughing at a joke, and 5 seconds later, like being from one side of the room to the other, 5 seconds later she can start praying heaven down, and she will literally pray you out of depression.
Wow!
In a half a second. And that's
wow!
Literal. That's literal.
Wow!
Or she'll go into a prophetic word that she hears from God for your life, just like that.
Wow!
And so all of these things, all of these, kind of amazing attributes, if you will, the color, the movement, the lightheartedness, yet she's harmless because she doesn't, she doesn't mean anyone harm. She's very harmless, just like a butterfly. She's just moving about and lighting on things and making that environment better for having been in it. So all of those reasons, I just ended up, I was like, you know what, you remind me of a butterfly. So that's where the name came from.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you talk about your wife so beautifully, because we're talking about romance. We're talking about love. We're talking about remixing relationships, right? And doing things differently. That's what this podcast is about, promoting healthy relationships. So I want to ask you this too. What makes your relationship healthy? I want to start there before I go into romance.
Well, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. And so when we met, we were both, well in age, because I had been married and divorced. And so she was in her 30s. I was in my 40s when we met, and when we started courting, rather. All right. So needless to say, in that age range, one having been married for a long time, her not having ever been married at all, me having kids, her not at that time, she didn't have children, life happening at that point for her 30 something years, at that point for me 40 something years. I say that to say we were both in a different place in terms of church at that time. We're going to two different churches when we started courting. So between the two churches that we were attending, there were, I think it was about 4 couples that we counseled with while we were courting. Both of our pastors and then some other people who did counseling for couples, premarital counseling. So we had the benefit of hearing from all these voices and getting all of this, support and prayer for concerning our marriage. But what also just kind of lingered from that was the fact that when the word says in the multitude of counsel there's safety, that doesn't mean that the counseling ends. The best counseling is that which is perpetual, that continues. And it may not be officially that you're sitting down and you're sitting in two chairs and this is a counseling session. It may not look like that, but it needs to look like you have accountability to others.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the full answer to your question.
Yeah.
We started off with premarital counseling from more than one perspective. And we continue that in different ways. It has taken on different viewpoints and, different settings, but we continue in that. And we've gone to marriage boot camps. I mean, we do it all because we realize that if we had it all figured out, then, we probably would never have met to begin with in our 30s and 40s, right?
How about that?
So clearly we didn't have it all figured out. Clearly, even after 26 years of marriage, I didn't have it all figured out the first time.
Yes.
So that left room for us to continue to submit our marriage to others who had wisdom, but more importantly, who had a prayer life, and they had an interest in our marriage being successful, being healthy, and so on.
Yes,
long answer, I know, but
no, that's not no. That was the right amount of speaking when it comes to that, because I think it's so important to have healthy relationships. And I want to ask you this. I want to just take you back a little bit. How can you see the difference? You were married the first time for 26 years, right? But this is a healthy one. This is no diss against anybody, but I want people to be able to understand, right? Like, what makes this one healthy? Because we've all been in some that may have not been perfect, maybe a little bit unhealthy, maybe a lot. So what makes this?
Well, and this going to be probably an answer that will seem contradictory as I'm saying, but just hang in there with me because the whole answer is going to come together. I think in regards to a marriage and the word healthy, I think there needs to be an understanding that word may not denote that everything is just right or great.
Yes.
Certainly not at all times, because it isn't. No marriage is, right?
Right.
Maybe at some point people level out and they're like, oh my God, this is just, every day is sunshine. But for most people, that's not what happens.
Right.
But I think about, okay, so I have high blood pressure, right? So for 30 something years, I wasn't taking blood pressure pills. Now, I don't know how long I had it prior to knowing.
Right.
But when I found out about it, the nurse was like, I don't know how you still up walking around, because if you don't get on these pills and stay on them, you're going to die, right? Very blunt.
Wow.
So for the last 20 years, I've been taking blood pressure pills, right? I still have high blood pressure, but it's controlled, which turns around and makes me healthy. But actually, it's not that healthy to have high blood pressure. Seems like an oxymoron.
Yes. That's
follow
good.
me?
That's good.
So,
that's good.
So what makes a marriage healthy?
Good.
You need to understand that you may have some underlying things that aren't healthy, but yet if it's controlled, then you're good. Well, the only way to have a healthy marriage, a real healthy one, a controlled marriage, is both parties had better be submitted to God. Because when you have two human beings, you are going to have a mess. I don't care what day it is.
Come on. Care what day it is.
I don't care what day it is. You could be on your way to church. One of you do praise and worship and the other one preach. But because it's two humans, you might have a moment of conflict.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it don't feel so healthy. But if you both understand that the only one who's right here is God, and you re-channel that and you submit, then that's how you got a shot at being healthy.
Whew.
You're not healthy because everything's great. In other words, you're healthy because you know what to do with what's not great.
Come on. That's a word. That's a word. That's a huge word. You said it doesn't, sometimes it's just not healthy when you have dealing with two different people and two different people coming from two families of origins, two different experiences, raised differently, experiences differently. It cannot be healthy unless you're submitting to God.
Can't be.
Period.
It's impossible.
Period. Because the two people can't do it on their own.
It can't.
You need a village. You need supporters. You need prayer warriors. You
Absolutely.
need, your faith. You need to be praying down in that house. You have
Yeah,
to. So
you have to.
that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
so real. It's so real. I would ask you, because we're talking about romance here, right? This
Mhm.
is the romance gents, right? This is the die hard romantic, right? We're talking to H.W. Austin, the author, Romancipes, right here, which is available on Amazon, and we're definitely going to talk about that. But I was going to ask you, what do you love about your wife? But you just ran down a lot of things that are very attractive, very appealing. When you talked about her praying and you talked about how her personality is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you do that, you're how should I say this? Because you wrote this book, we're going to expect a lot from you, right? We're going to know that romance is on the menu, no pun intended, with the Romancipes. So I talked to you this weekend or text you because we were preparing for the show, and you
Right.
said you were where? You
We
didn't
were
say
at
where, but
Yeah. We were out on a weekend getaway date
yeah.
right here in the city. We didn't leave the city.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
we periodically, as often as we can get someone to come keep our little miss that we have, our little 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
We will steal away to a inner city hotel, 4 or 5-star hotel. I talk about, if you're gonna do a hotel, it's got to be 4 stars or above, fellas. It's just what it is.
Come
Can't do
on,
3.
teach the
Got to do 4 or
romance.
5. Got to do 4 or 5.
It can't be
Um,
Motel 6. No
no,
diss to Motel 6, but it
no,
can't be
we
where they need a light on for you.
no, we are not trying to be Tom Bodell. Okay, we want somebody else to turn the light on. We need a concierge. Okay, we need.
Come on.
But
Well,
so we will go to a 4 or 5-star hotel, 2-3 days. And we always end up going to do some event, some excursion. Not I won't really say excursion because we don't bungee jumping, that kind of thing. But we'll take in a restaurant that we've never taken in. Like, we just do different things. Maybe
yeah.
taking a jazz concert at an amphitheater, just different things like that. We got a play that we're going to be doing this year, not doing, but going to.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, an art museum, just different things. So this
Yeah.
weekend was one of those times where we had our little getaway, and we frequented or went to a really nice music restaurant, actually owned by some minorities here in Atlanta. So
You
that
said a
was pretty
music
cool.
restaurant?
Yeah, I mean live music
Oh,
restaurant.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really neat. Yeah, and
I
we
love
dressed
that.
up. We dressed up to the hills. I mean, what's cool about, sometimes we'll do this, not always, but she'll typically buy something new. She
Mm-hmm.
always buys something new. That part is always.
Come on,
That part's
tequila.
always. But sometimes we won't let each other see what we are wearing until we get dressed, and then we come out.
I love it.
So that's just just another
I
little
love it. But that's
tidbit.
romance. You're keeping, so you're not just writing about it, right? And that's what I want people to know. You're not just writing about it, you're about it, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how important is romance to you in your marriage?
Well, it's ultra important, and it's really a non-negotiable, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes you may be longer getting to a romantic event than you intended to be, but it's definitely necessary and important. I used this word a lot last week, to be intentional, to be
Mm-hmm.
purposeful about,
Mm-hmm.
the romance piece. And sometimes like for us, we can't always get a babysitter. And most often we can't, not for a 2 or 3 day stint. So,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to be creative inside the house too,
Mm-hmm.
when they're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you go and steal away and find something, or create something romantic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to do it, and it's important to have consistency with it, because as we've all heard, what it takes to get you is what it takes to keep you. Plus there's
Yeah.
evolutions, things
Yeah.
need to be always evolving.
And let me pause you right there. Ladies, if he did nothing to get you, then he's going to do nothing to keep you.
Facts.
So sometimes people be like, well, go back to how you fell in love or what he did. And sometimes with ladies, it's so easy. They don't have to do nothing but have a pulse. And some guys like that too. So it's nothing to go back to like, why did I fall in love? You don't even know because he did nothing to get you.
Right.
It was easy. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I just had to give that PSA.
No, that's good. But so those are all the reasons why it's important to, be romantic, remain that way, be creative, get the book if you don't really know where to start. Where's my camera? Right there. If you don't really know where to start, get the book. If you're already a romantic, that's great. You can still get the book and scale the romancipes that are in the book. But just get in where you fit in, start somewhere, and just go with it. So yeah, I know we'll keep diving in, but that's the answer to the question. I try to answer the questions with concision and then keep moving. So
no, a word that you used last week, often was intentional. And it's about intentionality to keep the spark in your relationship going, because it's easy to get stale and get used to someone, if you will. And I always talk about some people stop smelling good, or they stop looking good, or they stop doing some of the things because they are taking the person for granted in a sense, and they feel like they don't have to. Then when they're going out, they may dress up, they may look nice, they will do, and it's a time and place for everything. But you want to be able to keep the fire burning, right?
Yeah. And on that, I'm gonna throw this out there. Here we go, one of our deep turns.
Come on. That's how we do.
So if you think about it, we all, well, when I say we, I mean humans.
Yes.
When someone is looking elsewhere, or they are elsewhere far.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So when they're looking elsewhere, it's probably a reason why they're looking elsewhere. And people forget and stop doing some of the things that got the person there in the first place. And oftentimes people don't understand that that's what it is when it comes to relationships. Sometimes you have to, let me see, let's see, get him off there until we are live. So he a little frozen. All right. So I just want to talk about, as he gets unfrozen, as he thaws out. I want to read some of the Romancipes. So his book is Romancipes. So romance and recipes, right? And it's available on Amazon. But he has a Romancipe here, and it's called Law and Order. So it says, if you get the book, this is on page 77. So it says ingredients. So he wrote this book, as he stated last week, for men to be romantic with their women, right? To be able to make them feel special and to give them something different, and to not allow a relationship to be stale. Because if you're with somebody, it can just naturally happen. So that's why he always talked about intentions and being intentional about being romantic. So here, guys, he says suit and tie, briefcase, a summons to be served to her, jury of her peers, see directions, and exhibit. So he says directions, and all of these are so creative. It says place setting is the living room, the den, or the dining room. Draw and serve her a summons to come to court, a court hearing where you'll be dressed impeccably in your best suit and briefcase. Have her along with a jury of her peers, siblings, friends, in some cases, her parents or children, right? To meet you in the place setting of your choice. Only invite those to court who you will be comfortable understanding the court case you're presenting. So this is the case. You're the defense attorney. He's using his imagination. I love it. You're the defense attorney, and you've pleaded your case as to why you love need and want her in your life. So you got a jury of your peers, it's your family, your parents, your children. I love this. So you're basically confessing your love to the people who love her. So it says the case is you're the defense attorney and you've pleaded your case as to why you love, need, and want her in your life. You must convince the jury that she's the woman for you. You'll stop at nothing to win this case. So then it says you can use exhibits to support your case, the kids, your chemistry together, the support guys give to other family members or your community, church, etc. Use anything that substantiates why the two of you should be together and stay together. Of course, video and photo evidence are crucial to presenting and winning a case. So dig into those phones. I love that. That is Romancipes 18. So then you have, let's see. Oh, okay. Let's do this one. Romancipes 27, Hobby Lobby, Hubby Lubby. All right. So show interest in her favorite hobby. Now, so I'll ask you guys, do you know what your person's favorite hobby is? So fellas, since he wrote this book for you guys, do you know what your woman, your girlfriend, your fiance, your wife's favorite hobby is? So and if you don't, then that might be something you want to ask. All right. So show interest in her favorite hobby. So let's see what this is. And I'm reading this one for the first time with you guys. All right. And our guest, H.W. Austin, will be joining us again. He had a power outage. So he's in Georgia. So he said he's coming back on. So the beat still goes on. All right. So this is the thing. Your ingredients, and I love this because it's Romancipes, right? So you have ingredients. Your genuine interest, patience, love, kindness, all the items she needs for her favorite hobby. Directions, carve out time for her favorite hobby. This is where you join her in what she loves to do as a hobby. Show genuine interest in learning and doing anything and everything she loves to do. The goal is to show her that you care about what she cares about. If you happen to already be adept at her hobby interest, kick it up a notch by adding a new twist, challenge, or thought to it. All right. So let's bring our guests back up. H.W. Austin.
So sorry, our power
That's all right.
went out, and it's like 5 seconds it went out, and
that's all right.
Wait on everything to boot back up.
That's all right. We're moving on. So while you were off, I read Romancipes Law and Order, which was crazy creative. I love it. And I read the Romancipes Hobby, Lobby, Hubby, Lubby. So let's talk about those two. The Law and Order. I love it. Get dressed up, plead your case. I think that is so cute. That would be good for an actual proposal as well.
Yeah,
that would be
true.
Real smooth if somebody used Law and Order. Everybody is dressed up. You're pleading your case why you love her, and then you pop that ring out. That's pretty nice.
I want you to go to, let's see if I can find it real quick. It's amazing you said that.
Because I love romance.
Oh, where did I put it?
It makes you feel all gooey on the inside. I like to say it makes a woman feel soft and pink. That's what I call vulnerable. Because a woman, if you can reach a woman's heart and you can really show, a woman will give you everything that she has.
Yeah.
Easily. We're not as complicated as some may think. We're pretty simple when it comes to the love department. Just showing your love in those type of ways, or going the extra mile, or making that effort. Because like you said, it's about intentionality.
Exactly. I was trying to find it in the book. I don't remember where I put it, but it's funny you said something about it could be used as a proposal, because I have somewhere in the book I wrote all 52 of these Romancipes, or any one of them, can be used or scaled for proposal. I said something
Wow,
to
I
that
didn't even
effect,
see that.
and you, I know you didn't see it because I can't even tell you where it is, but I know it's in there somewhere. But that's pretty cool that you know that you said that, because that's exactly right.
Because that
Um,
would be so, guys, if you're looking to propose to your girlfriend, right? And you're looking to get married and you can't think of ways, right, to
yeah,
do it. You know, you can personalize all of these according
exactly,
to YouTube. But if you
exactly.
can't think of something and you want to do something creative and you can't think about it, get this book. Like
Get
he
it
said,
started.
you can use any of them, but I
Yeah,
could definitely see that Law and Order, and all the friends and family are there, and you plead in your
yeah,
case why you love her, and then you be like,
yeah.
bam, here you go, here you go, here you go,
Here,
right
yeah,
here,
here go, here
here
go.
you go.
And a footnote, you know, because you know, we're all different. Some people are complicated, and by complicated, I don't mean that in a negative way. What that means in this regard is they want things to be complex. That's how they're built. So they
Mm-hmm,
want a lot of moving parts. You know, they
mm-hmm,
want stuff that have to be figured out. And
mm-hmm,
there are other people who are extremely simplistic. If you give them something overly
mm-hmm,
complex, they're not interested.
mm-hmm,
And if you give someone very complex something simple,
mm-hmm,
they're not interested. I
mm-hmm.
say that to say this book encompasses all of these things. So, like, if someone's listening, like, man, that Law and Order thing, that's a bit much. Or, and you're right, because you would be right if that's how you're built. It might be too much for you, right? But then something as simple
I'm
as,
giving the side eye.
yeah, no, hang in there, because I don't want to lose anybody along the
That's
journey
right.
of romance.
That's right.
So I have things that are very simple, very
Yeah.
just like 1, 2, 3, boom, you there. And then I got stuff that's 28 steps to
Mm-hmm,
romance, you know,
mm-hmm,
and then you're there.
mm-hmm.
You know, because there's one about, you know, creating this maze almost, where she has to
Mm,
go find stuff, and it's an
I love it.
inside out. Yeah, it's an inside outside
Like a
experience.
scavenger hunt.
Yes, it's exactly, that's the word. And some people, they're not trying to do all that. But when you search the book, the point being, whether you want something simple or something more complex or anything in between, this book has that. That's the point. You don't have to be, you know, you don't have to feel like you're going to be bored with it. You also don't have to feel like it'll be overwhelming to you.
Yeah.
Just get in and get started and find the simple stuff. If you're looking for simple, find the hard stuff if you're looking for complex. And then, like Kendall said, personalize it, make it your own.
Yes, I love this one. And I want to debunk the myths, right? Because people think that men aren't romantic, and men can be very romantic. And the one that I'm about to read, someone is going to assume, like, oh, women do that stuff. But some men are really mushy, ushy, ushy and do this thing. This is a
Right.
man who wrote this book. He does these things. People
Yep.
do these things. And I
That's
and I
right.
want to get rid of the myth that men don't do these type of things. Some
Right.
men are really mushy-ishy more than women, romantic. And when I'm talking about this one, the scrapbook one, right? And
Okay.
some
Yeah.
may think, well, men are not sentimental. But this
Yeah.
on page
Yeah.
141 is talking about the scrapbook. So your ingredients are pictures, movie ticket stubs, menus from the most frequent restaurant, playbills from plays, concert tickets, sporting event tickets, footprints, handprints of your babies. If you have that, screenshots of special text, go to Hobby Lobby or any craft store, Michael's, all of that, right? And
Yeah.
ask an associate to help find the items needed to create a scrapbook, or go online and research the topic. Now, some may say, well, that's men don't. Yes, they do. A man
Yeah.
wrote this book.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do is compile relationship memorabilia. You're going to go through all the things you kept over a course of your relationship. This can be a note you've sent to one another, candy wrapper from first Valentine's Day together, or a movie ticket from your first date, or any date for that matter.
Right.
Also, make sure you gather or print out the pictures you want to include in the page as well. Write a description of your favorite date, the best day you've spent together, or the most romantic thing either of you have done for one another. Anything that will create emotional value can be used in a scrapbook.
Yeah.
Emotional value. Let's talk about that, because I love that.
Yeah.
Tell the folks what emotional value is. And this is coming from a man. And I want to keep saying this because some people generalize, well, men do this, women do this, men don't do that, women don't do this. And I want to really be clear that anybody can do this. He wrote this for men, especially. So let's
Yeah.
talk about emotional value. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So,
And
value
you guys,
is.
I'm sorry, please,
Mhm.
your questions, comments, whether you're watching live or the playback, we welcome them. If you have a question for our guests, if you have a question on how to remix your romance, even if you don't in a relationship, learning about it now. So once you get in that relationship, you like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But go ahead, let's talk about emotional value.
Yeah. So, just taking the word value, of course, which is indicative of something having worth, right? Something having worth, something that is fillable. Because when something is valued, that means it has a capacity for something,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the emotional part, we already know what that is, and we can define that just by life itself. But when you
Mm-hmm.
put them together, now you are letting your woman know, and for me, I'm talking as a man, so I'm talking to men, but it can be flipped. But as a man talking to your woman, finding out about your woman, that value piece is important, and that's why it particularly falls in that scrapbook romancipy, because in order for you to get that one, and there's some other ones in there, you really got to know your woman,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to know her inside out. But
Mm-hmm.
then there'll be some parts of her that you'll discover as you do some of these romancipes, which
Mm-hmm.
adds to the value of who she is. So that emotional value has everything to do with what you already know about that person, what you are learning about that person,
Mm-hmm.
and what there is yet to still know of them.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're putting in the time
Mm-hmm.
and the effort to get either to give her what she's asked for, or know more about what she just said, or learn more
Mm-hmm.
about her,
Mm-hmm.
that creates her being filled, that word capacity. Now you are filling her up
Yep.
with the worth that you say that she is, because
Mm-hmm.
that's, and then
That's
that
good.
emotional piece is going to automatically tie to that as she sees you creating her worth, her value. She already has it, but it's what you consider worthy and valuable in her,
Yep.
and that which you continue to reiterate or to build
Yep.
up, right? Now all
Yep.
of a sudden she's taking what she already knows about herself, and now you're creating even more things, and intrinsic value,
Yes.
which, that word, not things that are just, touch, see, but things that if you replaced it, it wouldn't mean the same because it wasn't the original.
Yes.
So all of that,
Yes.
when you begin to be her original builder upper, and I know that's not a word, but hang in there with me, like you're originally building her up, you're originally filling her with the worth that you input upon her, then all of that goes together and creates that
Yes.
emotional value. And so that's where that comes from.
You said so many things that I love. You said she already has it, but
Yeah,
she wants to hear it and feel it from you.
from
And I
you.
think that's
Absolutely.
key right there. Because a man can tear a woman down or lift her up, right?
Right.
Even if she's already has everything that she needs on the inside. So it's
Yeah.
so important. I like that you said that she already has it, but that person is supposed to do that, and vice versa,
Yeah.
right? So I think
Absolutely.
it's important, like with romance, sometimes it's the simple things that we can create that type of environment for one another.
Yeah.
And I like even you have here, because men can do this. This is simple. That traditional picnic basket,
Yeah.
food, wine or other drinks, the cooler, ice, blankets, bug spray, sentinella candles, tanning spray, or sunblock, whatever. It's hot, and you go have a traditional lunch or dinner at the park. Just use your imagination and wow her with this outdoor treat.
Yeah.
Simple, old
Simple.
school.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. It's
Doesn't.
that intentionality.
Yeah. And that goes back to, knowing your woman. I mentioned the scripture last week
Mhm,
where it says, husbands, dwell with your wives according to knowledge.
mhm,
Um, Sometimes And oftentimes it doesn't take a lot anyway, right? Now,
Mhm.
yeah, of course you guys want grand every now and then. Who
Mhm.
doesn't? But
Mhm.
to have that mix is important, because if you only do grand, like if that's all you're on,
Yeah.
then that could send her a message that you're really not wanting her to get.
Mm.
She may not want that message, and you don't even know, because you're so busy always doing grand that you've either elevated yourself somewhere that isn't cool, or you have assumed that the only way to her heart is to do something grand, and she really just wants you to
Yeah.
lotion her hands. That's simple.
Or those feet.
Right? Or her feet.
Oh, your
It could be as
hand
simple as that.
massage and foot
Yeah,
massage.
yeah,
Simple. Like
simple.
simple to do,
So that's,
because
yeah,
who
it's
doesn't need
important
that?
that you do both, that you understand how to be on that pendulum and be able to do both or all. It doesn't have to be either or, but it shouldn't
Mhm.
just be one-sided. So conversely, she doesn't want to just do Netflix and chill all the time either.
Mhm.
So that's the opposite side of that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why it's
Yeah.
important to learn her. And
That's
and
real.
remember, I said last week, romance isn't about what you want to do. It's about what you want for her, for your partner. Or ladies, if you're doing it, it's about what you want for him. And sometimes you don't know what that is. Sometimes you may have to quiz them, because the worst gift
Mhm.
you can get,
Mhm.
the worst gift you can get is a gift that you did not want, but now you got to have this poker face like you love it. Just take just take the guesswork out of it. All you gotta do is quiz them. They don't know what you're quizzing them for.
Right.
Get them stuff that, this may seem like it has nothing to do with romance, but it has everything to do with it.
It
I
does.
I have this thing that I do. I'll ask my wife to, like, when it's, because I do stuff for her all the time. But specifically when it's birthday time, Christmas time, particularly those two, I'll be like, babe, give me a list. And we may start talking about that list in, middle of the year. Give me a
Mhm.
list of some stuff you'd like just
Mhm.
5 things, 8 things. Like, the more on the list, the better.
Mhm.
Because I want to get the stuff she wants.
Mhm.
And you could go outside of that and go get her something else. But if you know her and
Yep.
you get something that aligns with your knowledge of her, that's
Yep.
going to hit better, and it's going to hit different than you going out here on an excursion somewhere and getting her something that she's like, oh, that's nice. Well, you already know
Right.
you missed. You
Right.
missed.
You missed the
You
mark.
missed.
You
And
missed
you
the
don't want to
mark.
miss when it comes to romance. You don't want to miss. So
Right.
you can quiz your girl or your guy, along the journey, and then you get them what you talked about. It's down the road, but at least when
Right.
you do it, it's something that resonates with them, because it's something that they asked for.
Yep.
You just need to give it to them as soon as they ask. That's
And also
that
folks
can be
gotta
very
listen.
romantic.
Because I like to get gifts. I listen. I
Yeah,
listen to certain things. He said, "Oh yeah, I need this," or I listen, and folks gotta listen, because if
gotta
you
listen.
actually listen to your woman, she's gonna tell you everything you need to know.
Absolutely.
Like, and then she's not gonna have that poker face, like you said, like, what in the world, because she probably is telling you without even knowing that she's telling you, So you gotta really pay attention. I love this one. It's so many good ones in here. Guys, you guys, if you need proposal ideas, I'm trying to tell you. I like this one. Microphone checker, 40 Romancipes 44, declaring your love. Love it. Ingredients: a sharp outfit, a karaoke bar. I love a karaoke bar, but you would never know that unless you ask the people. Because I mean, I love a karaoke bar. A poetry speakeasy alternative to singing at a karaoke bar. The
Hmm.
courage to sing, rap, or recite. Directions: take your sweetie to a karaoke bar and declare your love for her on the mic before complete strangers. Dress nicely. Even if you decide to wear jeans, be sure to look sharp for your honey. I
Sharp.
know that's right. Look
Gotta be sugar
sharp for
sharp.
your honey.
Sugar sharp.
Sugar sharp. Come on now. Get them creases in there.
Not the
Back in the
creases. Not,
day, we're not going to do no creases in
not in
2025. Don't
jeans.
be coming in
No
here
more
with no
creases in
creases.
jeans.
Right. We don't mean sharp like that. Not no sharp crease. Don't get the spray. Remember the spray? Oh gosh. But sing or rap your heart out. Even if you can't sing great, she already knows your vocal ability. The romance factor is set in the fact that you're do this for her in front of complete strangers. Basically, you're going to recite poetry and you're going to sing. So basically, you're just professing your love. It's so many different cute romancipes. And I just want, if people are just tuning in for the first time, part 2, you have 52 in here. We know that we have 52 weeks in a year. So I got a question for you. So let's define romance and the difference between romance and routine. So some relationships suffer when the romance fades. So let's talk about romance, the difference between romance versus routine in a marriage or in a relationship.
Okay. So we'll start with the routine to where we can
Mm-hmm.
best define the romance and the difference between the two, rather, because that's really the question,
Mm-hmm.
right? The difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So routine, I would take that as I'll take the word route, which is kind of a prefix of routine, and a route pretty much is 2 or 3 ways that you can go to one destination or to a destination. Sometimes it's just one way. Sometimes the
That's
route is
good.
just one way.
That's
Sometimes
good.
it's 2 or 3, but it's not 20. It's not 40. It's 1 to 3. You go this way and you'll get where you're trying to go. It's a routine. It's a route. It's a prescribed point A to point B. And it becomes very predictable if you know how to go from Atlanta, Georgia to Marietta, Georgia, and you pick a route, that becomes your routine. It's not so it's like
Mm-hmm.
where we're going today, we're going to Marietta. Next week, where we're going today, we're going to Marietta. You just become routine. Where we're going to Longhorn. Where we're going, we're
Right.
going to Longhorn. Whatever it is, right?
Right.
So now all of a sudden the route, which is to say the time that you're spending or the effort that you're putting in, becomes predictable, mundane, and set. So therein lies routine.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with romance, it's just like it was, because all we're trying to do with this book and with romance, period, is to recreate the excitement and the nostalgia of what it was like when you started courting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when you were courting, you had no idea when what they were going to have on when they picked you up. You had no idea where they were going to take you. You had no idea how long you guys were going to be out. Whatever, just fill in the blanks. It was just all just, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Oh my God, what's going to happen next, right? And so that's where romance, or that's your difference rather, in the romance side of it, is you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
You don't know when it's coming. You don't know what's coming. You don't know the level of effort that's going to be in until you're in it.
Yes.
And so that's the differential in the routine, mundane route, same
Yes.
place, same way of getting there versus your romance.
I love that.
Now
That's perfect.
you've determined 28 different ways to get to Marietta now. And now
I
that
love
route
it.
is going to be way more scenic than what you were used to. Now you don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how we get to Marietta, but I'm so excited about going to Marietta because I don't know
Yeah.
what we're going to do on the way to Marietta now. Right?
Yeah.
It becomes different because Marietta might take 3 days to get there now when
Yeah.
romance is involved, because now you're adding to the equation. You're adding to the destination.
I love that, because I love that you broke down that route and routine. That's good. That's good on your feet. We ain't playing that. See,
Hey, look,
he know
look.
what he's talking about. He know what he's talking about. He's smart. He's smart. All right. So I want to talk about signs that romance are fading. So some of the common reasons couples lose romance, the red flags, emotional distance. That happens a lot. Lack of effort or prioritizing other things over the relationship. That's when you can see signs that the romance is fading. Also, personal and relationships impact. So how it affects the self-esteem, the connection, the intimacy. If you're lacking intimacy, that connection feels like it's not there, and it affects your self-esteem. That's when you can see that the romance is fading. But we're
Yeah.
going to talk about how to get back on track and rekindle the romance if you lost it. Whether you're dating, whether you're single, dating, engaged, or married, you can hold on to these. So when you get somebody, or once you get to that level, or if in your marriage and you feel like you've just been stuck, you're stuck doing the same routine, right? And romance is a thing of the past. So you want to change your mindset, viewing romance as a continuous choice, like Austin is saying, being intentional, and it's not just a feeling. The practical tips: love language, personalize your romance, intentional date nights, and surprise gestures. I'm going to ask my guest what he thinks about my list. Everyday affection, simple but powerful ways to show love daily, communicating needs and desires openly, balancing effort between partners. Let's talk about those. So practical tips: love language and personalized romance, right?
Mhm.
Intentional date nights and surprise gestures. I love surprises. Everyday affection, simple but powerful ways to show love daily, communicating your needs and desires openly. If you need some more romance, you
Right.
got to communicate it, because
Right.
nobody can read your mind. And if they're not naturally a romantic person and you want them to be romantic, then you can talk about it. Hey, what is romance to you? What is da 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 da.
Yeah.
Balancing the effort between the two. So what do you think about these practical tips?
So I mean, those are awesome. They could easily be written into a romancipy if you're interested.
Yeah, can I have a special guest spot on the romance recipe?
Can
I
you
got
have what?
a little guest revision. Just a little
Absolutely.
guest spot. I kind of like this way, this big.
But no, those are spot on because you know life happens. We know that, right? I mentioned last week how the person you say I do to, you're not just saying I do to the person in front of you that day, but you're saying I do to the person that they will become, that they will evolve into, the different machinations of that person. You're saying I
Lord.
do to that as well.
Hmm.
And that may not always be a good place that they may land through the journey of your relationship.
That's real.
So it's important that because again, romance is not, it doesn't equal goosebumps all the time.
Yep.
Sometimes to get romance going, you got to go break up some fallow ground. And that's what God does with us. He breaks up our fallow ground. He
Come
doesn't,
on.
so sometimes where you find a person might be a dark place, a dirty place, or whatever, a not so happy place. And that is even while married. You can still find your mate in those places depending on
Mm-hmm.
what has happened. Maybe it's just for that day, but maybe it's an episode of some losses that they've been through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm being a little personal here, but my wife had never been married. Like I said, she had never had children. I had three when we met and when we married. And so we eventually got pregnant. So she was first time ever being pregnant in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited. She's married. She got pregnant. She's just feeling amazing. 8 weeks later, we go for a
Mm-hmm.
checkup and there's no heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up, finding out that we lost the baby. Um, that changed who she was
Yeah.
from the woman that I had said I do to at that altar.
Mm.
That changed her.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yep.
knocked her beyond backwards. And
Yeah.
so romance at that time, this book wasn't really popular back then. So in other words,
Right.
that's to say I knew not to go do things maybe that was in that book at that time.
Yeah.
Because what looked like romance to her then was just me listening, me holding her while she
Mm.
cried, asking
Mm.
why,
Mm.
right? Um, and then being there for the different emotional versions of her that would exist on a daily basis. Sometimes 3 to 4 or 5 times a day, her
Mhm.
emotions would change.
Mhm.
So me having, working with, or not working, but being there for her and us working through that together. So at that time, that's what romance looked like.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so you
powerful.
see what I'm saying? So it's not
That's
always
powerful.
goosebumps. It's not always grand gestures. It's not always a bow on a Mercedes, or
But you
whatever.
said something that's romantic and men can do this, holding them,
Yeah.
us, when we're
Yeah.
crying or when
Yeah.
we're sad or when we're fearful or we just need love or hugs, or that right there is simple. And a lot of men don't do that because I
Yeah.
think that they may think it's something else or something different. Like you said, it's not always about the grand gesture. Just rub my feet, rub
Yeah.
my hands, and give me some hugs and give me some
Yeah.
loving. It doesn't always have to be that deep, because with
Yeah.
romance you're building, and rebuilding and shaping the connection,
That's right.
right?
That's
And we're talking about, like, we talked about faith earlier today, and you and we prayed before we started the show, and I appreciate that. I recorded that, by the way, because I think that's powerful. But a faith-based perspective on romance, love and marriage, or romance and marriage, how faith plays a role in keeping love alive. We've talked about that. Biblical love versus worldly love, understanding love as an action and commitment. And then the
yeah.
role of prayer and spirituality, that connection in romance. Let's talk about that for a moment. Love and romance and how faith plays a role in keeping the love alive. We talked a little about that, but more into that. And then the role of prayer and spiritual connection in romance.
Yeah. So that's when romance begins to mature.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know, when you get into where you're praying with and for each other,
Yes.
you're, having a type of Bible study together, things like that. You're fasting together.
Beautiful.
When you start going in those places, now that romance is maturing, but it
Mm-hmm.
also is a beautiful way to make romance more organic, or
Mm-hmm.
even more organic, I should say.
It's beautiful. I
Be-
did that
yeah,
last week.
yeah,
It's beautiful.
yeah,
We
it
did that.
becomes even more organic because now you're back to creating that emotional value. That's part of that
Mm-hmm.
equation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're doing things outside of just what makes you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
because you're tapping into the real relationship guru, which is God himself.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows each of us more than
Mm-hmm.
he knows us. So
Mm-hmm.
when I go to him for, on behalf of her, and she goes to him on behalf of me, then
Mm-hmm.
our coming together is even more valued and therefore can be
Mm-hmm.
more romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because again, that may even be where you have to go find a place in him to have tough conversations
Mm-hmm.
with each other. But it just brings more value. It matures the romance, and then it
Yeah.
gives you other, because there's so many angles to this too. Yeah, the book was written, excuse me, um, you know, as a way to have the fluff and the fun and all of that. That's true, but there are other levels and angles that can come from being romantic with each other that you'll have to put the book down and get into some other stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where having that faith intertwined in there, because the word says a threefold cord is not easily broken. And so
Mm.
you don't really have the best relationship if he's not intertwined in it anyway.
Come
So the
on.
best thing you can do and the most romantic launching point you can have is when you build that faith in there. That's
Yes.
that's that's when it gets really good.
That's it. That's it. All right. So as we wind down, that was beautifully said, and thank you for that. I think it's so important, what you said, and I hope everybody is paying attention to that. And hey, everybody watching live or the playback, want to hear you in the comments. If you have questions, if you just want to leave a comment, put some thumbs up, put some fire emojis, show us that you are there supporting. All right, so let's tell the people why they should buy this book if they hadn't already got it from what we've been talking about, but why they should get the book, where they can get the book, and all that jazz,
Okay.
all that smooth jazz.
All that smooth jazz. Well, the why has everything to do with what we've talked about these last two episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, everybody's either at the beginning of a thing, in the middle of a thing, or coming out of a thing. Everybody. That's what life is. And
Yes.
so this book will help you wherever you are in that spectrum. So the why behind it has everything to do with that. It can help you begin, romance in your courtship or your marriage, or it can help you if you're in the middle of it, to enhance more, give you some other directions to go in that you may not have considered. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you're like my guy that I talked about last week, who had been married 36 years and thought that he was at the end of the thing, I said, well, have you done 52 romantic events for your wife? And he was like, no, I haven't. So he bought the book. That's the end part. So in other words, there's nothing that you can't figure out how to
Mm-hmm.
do for your mate if you
Mm-hmm.
just decide that I'm gonna figure something else out. Yeah, I've done this, I've done that. I've been a pretty amazing mate to my husband and my wife, but yet there's always more. So that's why the book, why not, right? And then lastly, again, if you're already romantic at heart and all that great stuff, buy it for somebody else. If you really don't need the book, just get it for somebody else. So that that would be the why behind it. And you can get the book at Amazon. So just go there, order your paperback copy, and that's what it'll look like. It'll come to you, and you just get started. And I
Romancipes.
appreciate it in advance. I thank you for purchasing it,
Yes.
for talking it up. I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. Last question. Well, next to last question. So, quickly, what would you tell somebody who doesn't have a romantic bone in his body, but he wants to? He feels like he doesn't have a romantic bone in his body, but he wants to. He wants to. He's preparing for his new girlfriend or fiance, or he's watching this now. He's like, yeah, when I get a girl, I'm gonna use that book. So but I ain't romantic. I've never been romantic. What would you tell that guy?
Besides getting the book, I would say, be honest with the person that you're starting with, because this is pretty much where a start sounds like. So be honest with them. That's not, you don't necessarily say, hey, I'm clueless about romance. But again, it's like buying the gifts that I talked about earlier. You don't want to do something for her and that's not her lane. That's not something that
Mm-hmm.
she may have an interest in. Like there are certain things that, some people might be into excursions, like to go scuba diving to one woman would be romantic, especially if you're down there
Mm-hmm.
scuba diving holding hands. If she's
Mm-hmm.
got a fear of water, she is not going to feel romantic.
That ain't romantic. You put
Right?
fear in her heart.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I would say find out some things about her. Find out some things about her. Get to know some of
Mm-hmm.
her pain points, but then
Mm-hmm.
also some of her pressure points, her good
Mm-hmm.
points.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about communicating. Once you really are in that thing and you know them well, then you can ad lib. But in the beginning, I would say get some information, get some intel,
Love it.
get some intel so that you can make sure that you're dwelling with her according to
Yeah.
knowledge. And
Because
that
if she's
includes
afraid of
information.
horses, riding horses on the beach is not going to be
Look,
romantic. Where
look,
I love horses, that's romantic to me. But if somebody just got kicked in the head with a horse by a horse, or they're scared of
look,
horses, you bring them out saying, I have a romantic horse, that's not going to work.
that's not
Like
gonna work.
Austin said, pay attention, learn your woman. I told
You
y'all
gotta
last
learn it.
week that a guy, he was married, like an older gentleman, been married 60 something years.
Yeah,
Asked him what was the sauce. He said, men have to learn their woman. When they
learn 'em.
learn their woman, the woman will give everything you want and you live pretty much happily ever after. He said, but
Exactly.
most people don't. Most people want to, go toe to toe and all of that. It's
Yeah.
simple. He said, it's simple. And he's over there smiling when he's saying it. It's simple. Learn your woman. She's like, key, 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 key. All right. So, last question, Austin. You know you are my brother forever. What brings you joy?
Boy, you hit me with this one last week, so I'm gonna have to
Uh-huh.
give you a different. I'm gonna have to give you a different
Oh,
answer
no.
today.
So let me ask you this. So I did ask you that last week, but let me ask you this.
Mhm.
What brings you peace?
Um, what brings me peace is peace. So in other words, yeah. So in other words, what brings me peace is someone, something, or somewhere, someone, something, or somewhere that is peaceful itself, tranquil,
Mhm. Mhm.
subdued, right?
Mhm.
Even if there's a crisis, we are going to remain level headed. We're
Yep.
going to remain cerebral.
Yep.
and we're gonna figure it out. And even if there's a panic button, we're not gonna hit it. That's
Yes.
peace to me.
I love that.
That's
Gonna
peace to
figure
me.
it out.
We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna come together because cooler heads do prevail.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that spells peace. And then
Mm-hmm.
another part of that is, at least, and I probably speak for a lot of men, but women are assigned to this too. But you probably heard men love respect. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's how we spell love, but it's also how we spell peace.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Respect. Yep.
when you show us respect, not that it's excusable to be rah rah. That's not, certainly I'm not suggesting that, but I'll say it this way. This will be my parting shot.
It's
I
good.
wish I wish I'd have come up with this. I didn't. So I heard it from someone else, but I love it. I heard it years ago and I carry it. It says, inside of every man there's two men, a king and a fool. And whichever one you speak to the most is the one that you'll get the most.
Woo! That's right. It's so true. It's so true. Men
So
want to be
so yeah,
affirmed just like women want to be
yeah.
affirmed. Right.
So that is
Mm-hmm.
another way that I spell
Good.
peace. Just being able to speak to that king inside of me, which keeps me at bay. It keeps me grounded. And then from there, we just figure it out.
I
We
love
just figure it out.
that answer. I love that answer. It's so powerful. And then you have to be the peace that you want, right? You got to
Yeah,
be the
you gotta
peace
be.
within you, and it has to exude because it's so important. All of us have peace inside of us, men and women, and we have to project that peace, right?
Yeah,
It's when it comes to relationships, we have to be who we want to see,
absolutely.
and we
Absolutely.
have to be what we want. And that's just the nature of human beings. And I
Yeah.
always talk about this. Everybody is like this, but the
Yeah,
thumb is pointing
yeah,
back
yeah,
to you,
yeah,
right? If it's
yeah,
saying you did this, you're
yeah,
that, you're this, but the thumb is pointing to you. So
yeah,
everybody has to hold themselves accountable in any relationship, even
yeah.
when we talk about romance.
That's right.
Everybody has to do it. No one can be in a relationship just as a taker. Like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
has to give something. Everybody might not be able to give the same thing at the same
Right,
time, but
right.
everybody, if you're in a relationship, in a marriage, both people have to do the work and both people have to give, and both people
Absolutely.
have to listen to what the other
Yeah,
needs or their heart really desires, because sometimes they might not be able to verbalize it, but their heart
yeah.
can. And
That's
that's
exactly
being, like
right.
you said, in tune, right?
Yeah, yeah. One very last thing. I just want to
Mhm.
leave it with the fellas.
Mhm.
I throw up a lot of scripture, but I said, um, we're supposed to love our wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. For
You went out. Can't hear you.
you know,
Yeah, I can
is
hear you
that
now.
oh,
Uh-huh.
sorry. So with that in mind, Christ makes it about the bride more than he makes it about himself. He already knows who he is. He already made the sacrifice. Now his focus is his bride. And he knows we're the bride. So all of us, we're flawed. We're messed up. We have crazy days and crazy moments.
Mhm. Mhm.
But Christ remains centered and grounded, and he does what's best for us.
Yes.
Men, if we would take that, and I know that's challenging, but if we would, because we the man, I'm the man, dog. You're gonna do what I say, it's gonna be my way or you know, and that is not how Christ loves the church. Because if it
Woo!
was, we would be messed up if he had
Woo!
that mentality towards us. So
Woo!
we cannot be full of vibrato, we cannot be full of harshness. We've got to identify that no matter what is in her that may, be indifferent, and what we call attitude or whatever you want to call it. If we love her like Christ loved the church,
Mm.
if we will be kind, if we will be tender, if we will be compliant and even selfless, because God knows he did not have to do what he did on that cross, because he did nothing, but he gave all. So if we could keep that mentality as husbands and as, boyfriends or fiancés, whatever you want to call it, that would go tons inside the relationship. And eventually, just like Christ eventually wins us, eventually we will win our woman with that type of.
Woo! You preaching. That's why he is a certified relationship coach. You preaching. that right there, it gave me the chills because it's so true. We are more alike than different, and it's the simple things that you gotta catch. Well said. I don't even want to ruin that by saying anything else. I'm going to close the show because that was powerful, and I want that to be the last thing said. Um, other than how can the people get in contact with you? I know you talked about your book, but how can they get in contact with you if they want to hire you as a life coach, a
Yeah.
relationship coach, or they want to talk to you? Some men
Thank
out there might be like, I need to talk to you.
thank you for that. Because I actually have something called Fellowship that I'm launching for the fellas, FELLA, Fellowship. And so, so you can start by finding me on Facebook, which is just Henry Austin. When you go on Facebook, put in Henry Austin, and you'll see my face, so you'll know it's me. It'll say Atlanta. You can also email me if you're not on Facebook, and that's fine. You can email me. It's the name of the book, romancipes@gmail.com. Everything I do for the life coaching side I kind of channel through that email. So yeah, romancipes@gmail.com. That's probably the most direct way to get me. And then from there, we can exchange information as needed. And I would love to, to do either a group session, because I offer those, as well as individual
Mhm.
sessions. So whichever way is most comfortable for you, we'll make it happen.
I
So thank
love
you
it.
for allowing me to put that out there.
Of course, and thank you. You've been an amazing guest. This is not the last time that you're going to see Austin on this. Thank you so much for your insight. Thank you so much for um, God oozes out of you, my brother.
Thank
Like he
you.
oozes
Thank
out of you,
you.
and
Praise God.
the love that you have for your wife, the love that you have to help other men, be their best selves and give to their women in this way, an
Yeah.
instructional guide. I think it's amazing. I
Thank
think
you.
that you're not only teaching through this book, but you're teaching through your life. And that's why I wanted you to talk about your wife in the beginning and talk about
Yeah.
your weekend, because I think that's important. Because some people might see the book like, yeah, but is he doing it? Is this
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
he does? So you are showing by your life that you mean this. And this is amazing. So y'all go to Amazon right now and get this book. He said he had some sales after the last show. Let's
Yes.
give
Yes.
him some sales from this book. It's an amazing book. And I thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being a guest on Remixing Relationships.
Can I?
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Can I say one more quick
Sure.
thing? One more quick
Sure.
thing.
Sure.
I've got a Romancipede in here called Bag Off. Okay, it's a bag off. All right. So just find it when you get the book. But I flipped it. I did it as a ring off. So again, you can expand these Romancipes. So I took my wife to Jared about, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And we just went on a Saturday or whatever, went to Jared. She had never been there. So we sat and we looked at several rings. And then I told her, I said, well, babe, show me the 3 rings you love the most. Like your hand can't do without them. Right. And so she did. Now, of course,
On
she
page
had a ring
195, Romance P48. Go ahead.
bag off. So I did it. I flipped it and did it as a ring off. And so she picked out 2 or 3 rings that she just like, oh my God, this is the ring, right? Because I was going to upgrade her ring. I didn't do it that day though. We just took notes. She did all the things, and then we just left, and whatever. And I don't know how long afterwards it was. I didn't keep up with the time, but I went back and picked out one of those rings, had it sized and gift wrapped. And one day when we came home from church, she had actually preached her trial sermon. And when we got back home, I was, telling her how much how amazing of a job she had done. And while she was talking, I presented her this upgraded ring. And it just brought her to tears. Like she just stopped talking. She started crying.
I'm gonna give you
And
the
it
whole.
was, oh no, we lost her. Now, first we lost me, now we lost her. There
No,
she
you
is.
didn't. You didn't.
Coming back. There
You
we
didn't.
go.
You didn't lose me. I said I'm giving you the whole screen because I want you to.
Oh, I didn't hear. I didn't hear that part. Sorry. So anyway, yeah. So look, guys, like for that occasion, it was the ring off, meaning I picked out something that I knew she would love, but she didn't know when she was getting it. And she knew I was listening. She knew that I was in tune, but she really did not know that I was going to go get that ring or get a ring. And it wasn't predictable. It wasn't right away. It was either some months later or maybe 4 or 5 weeks later. Again, I don't remember how long in between, but I presented her that ring at a time that just stole the show, and it just melted her. So those are the kinds of things that you can do with the book. I just wanted to make sure to just throw that out there as a last. I'm not gonna say nothing else. I'm good.
I love it. I wanted him to definitely have the floor with that. And we're going to end with, hey, thank you so much for joining us. This was amazing. If you're just tuning in right now, go back and watch the playback. All right, everybody. This was an amazing show. This is episode 26. All right, let's talk about it. So romance isn't just about grand gestures, as we talked about. It's about little things we do daily to show love, appreciation, and connection. If your relationship has lost some of its spark, remember that it's never too late to remix it, right? Small intentional efforts can reignite passion and bring you closer than ever before, as we've been talking about. So to my listeners, to my watchers, to my audience, I challenge you this week to do something romantic for your partner, whether it's a heartfelt note, a surprise date, or just being fully present in the moment. Y'all know that's hard to do with these cell phones. Being fully present is romance, right? And if you're single, start by romancing yourself, because self-love sets the foundation for every relationship you'll have. All right. So this is my guest once again, H.W. Austin. Thank you again for joining me and sharing your wisdom. So it's important, y'all, go buy his book, support his book. And to all my Remixing Relationship family, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode. Share. Leave a review, leave a comment. It's important that you do that. Let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on social media and let me know how you're bringing romance back into your life. So my Instagram is @Candelanese, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you want to have some fun with me, going over to TikTok, it's the Remix Coach. Until next time, remember, you are a star. Don't allow anyone to dim your shine. I want you to know, once again, it's never too late to remix your love and life. Till next time, God bless y'all. Peace. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good night.